the love that knows before the goodbye, staying close while nothing is ending yet. There is a kind of knowing that arrives long before any ending is announced. It does not come as a thought you choose or a fear you invite. It appears quietly, often without language, as a weight in the chest, a softness in the hands, or a sudden urge to look more closely at someone you love. This is anticipated grief. It is not dramatic. It does not shout. It does not always make sense. And it does not mean something is wrong with you. Anticipated grief is the love that recognizes time before the mind can organize it. It is the body's awareness that nothing in life remains unchanged, and that those we love most move with time as we do. It can arise when a parent ages, even if they are well. It can arrive when a child begins to leave home, not all at once, but in stages. Visits becoming less frequent, conversations shorter, lives filling elsewhere. It can surface when someone you love starts to walk a path that no longer centers around you. It is not the same as worry. It is not pessimism. And it is not a betrayal of the present. It is love encountering time. In the ghost movement, memory is understood not only as something that forms after loss, but as something already being shaped while love is still alive. Anticipated grief lives in this space. It is memory forming forward rather than backward. Many people try to push this feeling away. They tell themselves not to think like that. They worry that noticing change will somehow hasten it, or that allowing the feeling means they are already half gone. But anticipated grief is not a rehearsal for pain. It is a signal of connection. It says this matters. It says this will change. It says pay attention. When these thoughts are dismissed too quickly, we often miss what they are asking of us. Not panic, not clinging, but presence. Anticipated grief does not ask you to withdraw from love in order to protect yourself. It asks you to lean into love more honestly while it is here, to take the photo not because you are afraid, but because you know this moment is real, to hold the hand for a second longer, not because something is wrong, but because touch carries memory, to listen fully, even when the story has been told before. These gestures are not attempts to freeze time. They are acknowledgements that time is moving, and that you are choosing to stay with it rather than look away. There is a particular tenderness that often arises with aging parents. You may notice the way their hands have changed, the pace of their walking, the way conversations drift back toward the same memories. Nothing is urgent, nothing is dramatic, and yet something in you knows that these moments will not always look like this. This knowing can arrive as a sudden catch in the throat while watching them make tea, or a heaviness after a visit ends. It is easy to feel guilty for this, as though you are already imagining their absence while they are still here. But anticipated grief here is not about absence. It is about presence sharpened by time. It is love recognizing the shape of the bond and sensing that it will one day need to be carried differently. The same feeling can arise with children, though it carries a different texture. With children, the ache is often not about death, but about gradual leaving. The house that once revolved around their noise begins to quieten. Meals are missed. Visits are negotiated rather than assumed. The rhythm of daily presence thins. This is not grief in the sense of bereavement. It is loss, yes, but not loss caused by death. It is the natural consequence of love doing what it is meant to do, which is to allow growth and separation. And yet the feeling can be just as physical. A hollow after the door closes. A sudden awareness that certain routines will not return. A sense that something precious is loosening its hold, even though nothing has been taken away. Here again, anticipated grief is not asking you to hold on tighter. It is asking you to notice what remains, and how love changes shape rather than disappears. What often makes anticipated grief difficult is not the feeling itself, but the way modern culture treats it. We are encouraged to stay upbeat, to focus on the present in a narrow sense, to avoid thinking about endings unless they are forced upon us. But presence is not blindness to time. True presence includes the awareness that things age, change, leave, and sometimes end. In the ghost movement, the dot refers to the steady center beneath story and emotion, the place that can hold both love and ache without needing to resolve them. Anticipated grief is one of the moments where this centre matters most, because the mind wants either to escape into worry or retreat into denial. The dot allows something else. It allows the weight to be felt without turning it into a story. It lets the ache become an anchor rather than a spiral. An anchor does not stop movement. It allows you to stay long enough to see what is actually here. When anticipated grief is met this way, it often softens into a quieter form of devotion. Not a vow, but a series of small, faithful acts. You notice how someone laughs, and you let yourself enjoy it fully. You stay a little longer at the table. You say the thing you might otherwise postpone. These are not acts of urgency. They are acts of recognition. There are times of year when anticipated grief becomes louder for many people. Anniversaries, gatherings, moments when absence or change becomes visible through contrast. These times do not create the feeling, they simply give it space to surface. But anticipated grief does not belong to any one season. It belongs to any moment when love realizes it will not always be held in the same way. This can happen on an ordinary afternoon, while folding laundry, while driving home, while watching someone sleep. Because anticipated grief is not triggered by events alone, it is shaped by depth of attachment. If you feel this, it does not mean you are fragile. It means you are bonded. One of the quieter risks around anticipated grief is the temptation to numb it, to distract yourself, to stay busy, to avoid the stillness where the feeling becomes audible. But numbing this feeling often numbs love alongside it. The ghost's approach is not to indulge the ache, nor to suppress it, but to let it inform how you live now, to allow the feeling to shape your attention, not your fear. You are not being asked to live as though goodbye is imminent. You are being invited to live as though presence matters. There is also an ethical dimension here. Anticipated grief can remind us to see people as they are now, rather than only as roles or responsibilities. An aging parent is not only someone who needs care. A grown child is not only someone who is busy. A partner is not only someone who shares logistics. They are people we love, walking alongside us through time. When this recognition is allowed, relationships often become gentler. Arguments lose some of their sharpness. Small irritations matter less. What remains is not perfection, but proportion. This does not mean pain disappears. It means it sits within a wider field of meaning. Anticipated grief does not guarantee that you will cope well with future bereavement. Nothing can guarantee that, but it can deepen the life that exists before that loss arrives. And that matters. Because when death does come, and grief in its true sense arrives, it will not only carry pain, it will also carry the memory of how fully you stayed while you could. This is not about preparing for bereavement. It is about honouring love now. In the end, anticipated grief is not a problem to be solved. It is a sign that love is awake. If you feel it, let it slow you rather than scare you. Let it draw your attention closer, not further away. Take the photo, hold the hand, stay with the moment. Not because you are afraid of losing it, but because you know it is real. And real things deserve to be met fully, while they are still here.